sometimes struggle to get up in the morning or wind down for bed at night? I used to find it so difficult. I woke up with no sense of positivity and brightness. I was void of motivation and spirit. This changed completely when I started waking up with a Lumi body clock. These incredible devices mimic the light and colour of a real sunrise and sunset, transforming the experience of waking up and going to sleep completely. Rather than being suddenly woken up with an alarm clock, the Lumi body clock will wake you up gradually with a natural sunrise. The Lumi body clock has been shown to improve the quality of sleep and awakening and to boost mood and productivity in clinical trials. You can personalise your sunrise and sunset from 15 to 90 minutes with their clinically tested unique natural light and more than 20 sleep and wake sounds. We all deserve to sleep well and to wake up feeling fresh. So if you're finding this a challenge and you want to try a new approach, go to lumi.com. How are you enjoying your time in London? What does London mean to you?
Well, now it's a sunny day, so I love it. London, when it's sunny, is the best place in the world. All those parks, the walking, it's like incredible. Watching all those amazing buildings, the everything is full of life. London never sleeps.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. How are you enjoying your tour at the moment?
Great. We have 12 more shows as two cellos, and then I start as Hauser, finally, my own tour, and it's a new chapter in my life. It's very exciting.
Yeah, what has made you, after so much success as two cellos, what has made you want to pursue something solo?
Well, I mean, we as two cellos were always also individuals as well. We each had our own things that we like to do. And I was always doing things on the side, regardless of two cellos, just for me, not like nothing serious. But then eventually these things on the side became more and more, bigger. They just with the years, these side things just naturally became a main thing because there was such a high demand, because I was just doing classical music or these beautiful romantic songs for myself because I love this. This is my type of thing. But then it just suddenly everything started blowing up like crazy. Everything went viral, and people wanted to see Hauser as in this new light, And two cellos was mostly like, our show is like rock and roll, We were going wild and crazy and energetic. And me as Hauser, I took this, more romantic, sensual approach, and I love that I got to do so many different things,
Yeah, I mean the incredible breadth of the material that you've been able to tackle in your career already is really special and unique, and it's doing something different, which is hard to say at the moment in music because it's so crowded. But how did your love of music begin in the first place?
Well, I came from a family where music was always so important. My mother listened to classical music all the time, and that's how I was raised with those great masterpieces, which was a blessing to be raised in this way, because if it's important as a young child that you start appreciating a really good music. So I was lucky. And then I heard the cello on the radio when I was a few years old, and I just knew I want to play that instrument, so it was like a destiny.
When did you start playing the cello?
Well, I started play when I was 8, but many years before that, I was waiting to turn 8 so I could start to go to school, so it was impatient.
And did you, from the moment you picked up the instrument, were people sort of crowding around you saying, "Oh my God, you're the greatest talent that we've ever seen on the cello"?
Really. No, at the start it wasn't like that. And that was the problem, because I didn't really have my teacher never really gave me any compliment or any support. It was like many years later, another teacher came to give masterclass to my hometown, Pula. And that's where she said, "Oh my God, you were such a talent." Wow. I didn't realize until then. Until the time I heard that compliment, that I was like so talented. And luckily she came. I think you see how important it is to hear encouraging word in the right time, it shifts everything.
Yeah, that must have been very, very encouraging. And I mean, how easy was it for you in your training to for example, learn to read music and to get kind of trained classically?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really that motivated in the beginning, as I said. But then after this, another teacher gave me this compliment. Suddenly, I was really motivated, and I just started learning things so quickly. I learned so many new things, new songs in like a matter of days. It was crazy. The motivation is the key, you know.
Mm. How often were you practicing? You know, were you a good student, like academically alongside your music, or did music start to take a hold?
Well, yeah, I mean, my main passion was always to play the cello and make music, and all this theory behind it was so boring, you know. I didn't want to. I wasn't really. I was never like a nerd or a geek who wants to like study theory all day long. I just wanted to. I knew that I want to play music and be a performer on stage. This was my priority always. So I dedicated most of my time to that.
Mm. And what was your, because you've had quite an unusual career, or seemingly for a cellist. I mean, perhaps there are many other people out there, but you know, not, I would argue, doing kind of exactly what you're doing, or you know, like what you've done before with two cellos. It is quite a special story. How did that all take off? You know, how did you meet Luka Sulic? How did that project start?
Yeah, for 25 years, I was mostly focused on classical music only because it's such a rigorous training. You have to really be, you know, it's like becoming a professional athlete. You have to really take it seriously, and a lot of sacrifice, a lot of practicing, studying, going to different competitions, and that was like very, it's like very disciplined. But then when I was 25, I was like, I didn't want to really limit my creativity just to one kind of music, you know, and play forever the songs that were written, the notes that were written hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And because in this classical world, your creativity in a way is restricted because you have to follow many rules. People have a lot of preconceptions how you're supposed to play, how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to. And you know, I was young and rebellious, and I was tired of hearing all this. I just wanted to, you know, didn't want to have all these restrictions, and I just wanted to do something different, crazy, revolutionary, attract wider audience to cello. I wanted to do something exciting and new and fresh and full of energy, adrenaline, and that's how Two Cellos project was born. And Luca had the same desire because we were both equally, you know, frustrated with these rules. And we actually knew each other since we were teenagers from different competitions, master classes, and we knew that it was like a healthy competition between two of us, like rivals. But so many years later, we joined forces, and everything just exploded.
Yeah, I mean, it really it came out of seemingly not out of nowhere, because you know, it's not like it was overnight success. It was
no.
decades of dedication.
Exactly.
How much of a turning point was joining Elton John's band? And I must say that I've got a you know, I'm a big fan of Elton's, and I'm a good friend of Nigel's.
Nice.
My girlfriend and I are good friends of Nigel going back about 10 years.
Wow.
So I think we've seen you on stage with Elton before, but
what's your favorite song?
Probably towards the end. Ooh, that would be difficult. I mean, with the cellos, obviously the things with Paul Buckmaster, those string arrangements, hearing those with some proper, you know, some proper instruments like Lebon and stuff, that was pretty good when you guys were playing it. I enjoyed your set before the band played.
Oh yeah.
And John Mahon came on.
Yes. Where was it? Where were you? Which concert?
I think were you guys playing at Festival?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because at Festival, the year before at Festival, my girlfriend and I, we went to Festival the year before you guys, and it was Stevie Wonder, and that's why we went. And I was like, I'm done with camping. Like, I'm too old for music festivals. I'm not coming back next year unless it's Elton John headlining, and it seemed very unlikely. It was really, really unlikely at that stage, because it wasn't like now maybe he would do it.
No.
But then it got announced, and everybody's like, right, well, you're coming then, and it was awesome. So was that a big turning point in your guys' career? Bless you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, of course. Like as soon as we posted our first video, Smooth Criminal, this was like everything just exploded, and everyone started calling the labels, the TV shows, and Sir Elton called. It was like, wow, this is a dream come true. We've been trying to break through, make it in classical music area for so long, and nothing worked out. And now we just had this one song that is something different out of classical music, and just everything happened to us. It's crazy, and we were so lucky because we managed to. He invited us to tour with him all over the world for next 2 or 3 or 4 years, which was like unbelievable experience. You got to see how everything works in the show business from the best point of view, like learning from the best and opening the shows, learn how to play in front of huge crowds and big arenas. And it's crazy. And a few years later, we were the ones selling those same arenas. So it's incredible how everything, it's like in the movie, you cannot believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but that's the crucial thing, though, isn't it? It wasn't like you had that break, did those tours, and then faded into obscurity. You actually sell out the same venues now.
Yes,
How did you make that transition whilst you were playing whatever it was? They play like, I don't know, 50 or 100 dates a year or something like that. Crazy. Nigel's always on tour.
Yeah.
And how, at the same time as maintaining that exhausting schedule, how did you go from being new kids on the block to selling out selling that amount of tickets? It's unbelievable.
Well, that's another thing that we learned from Elton, because he works so hard. It just doesn't stop, and this is why we, in order to be successful, you just have to be not lazy and keep working hard, play concerts, play live shows, we just didn't stop for years and years and years and years. And it was impressive to see him that, sometimes we would feel guilty because we are young and feels tired sometimes. But then you see him doing it for so long, after so many years, still giving his best every night, every show. And so this gave us extra, push and motivation to really work hard and stay on that. Yeah.
During those years, you were doing solo shows alongside those gigs. Two cellos. You guys had your own touring schedule as well as that. So you must have been doing, how many shows a year were you doing?
Yeah, this was crazy. So imagine doing all the Elton shows and then doing our own shows, then recording albums, our life was like total chaos for many years. We were like, we didn't see home for like many, many months. Sometimes like we wouldn't be at home for 6 months, like all total.
Did you enjoy that schedule?
I did, because I'm crazy a little bit. I mean, it was a mission. I wanted to make it. I wanted to share music with thousands of people around the world, and then suddenly, finally, this happened to, I made it, and I didn't want to now. You have to do it now. You cannot be lazy. You wanted this. You asked for it. You gotta do it.
And what did you tell yourself when you were tired? When you were on tour, presumably, you occasionally wanted to party and stuff. What happened on those occasions where it was like, traveling, if there were late nights, and then did you ever hit like a brick wall where some people might say, okay, I'm getting a bit burnt out?
Yeah. No, actually, no, because I am a very driven person. I'm very ambitious, and I was always full of energy, and I was always on the path, on the mission, and this was always the most important for me. So I didn't really feel this tired. The Luca, he was more like a family man, and now he has 3 kids, and he was more, for him it was a little bit harder because he wanted to also to have his more peaceful life, more balanced life, and so this was for him more difficult than for me. And yeah, but later on we each other found balance, and now everyone is happy. Win-win.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you've now gone from that to the 2 cellos being massive, but now you've become a huge, huge name in your own right in music.
Yes.
How did that kind of, how did that transition start? And I mean, for people who don't know, like the context here, like, because it's all moving so quickly. Some
Yeah.
people might have missed the fact that it's not just two cellos now. Like you on your own as
Yeah.
Hauser
Yes.
have nearly 3 million followers on Instagram. So
Yeah.
that you've got the same amount of followers on Instagram as like Elton now.
Yeah.
And you've got over 1 billion streams online. So you're becoming like a big star now. How did that, what's the story there in terms of like changing it up from two cellos?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing, as I said before, two cellos was like our main thing, and then on the side, each one of us did something for fun. And I started posting some, I did like classical concerts just for me, just for fun. These beautiful slow melodies, and I didn't really think anything of it. I was just posting it, and everything just blew. I would post, I don't know, Albinoni Adagio on YouTube with 80 million views. Boom. I would post Moonlight Sonata, 50 million views. Boom. I would post all these beautiful classical songs. And I haven't realized people want that. They're like, obviously, there is like a huge demand for something different. I was rocking out arenas with two cellos, being a rock star. And I would post those slow ballads just for fun on socials, and everything was exploding. It was exploding more than two cellos at the time, and I was like, "What's going on? What's that?" So I kept doing more of those and start posting videos for social media as well, playing those romantic songs, and everything would just explode. And then I reached like 10 million followers on Facebook in just few months, like crazy. Boom. On Instagram now, 3 on YouTube, everything just started exploding by itself. And believe it or not, most of those people don't even know about two cellos. It's like audience is not even it's crazy. And two cellos audience don't know about Hauser. Hauser audience doesn't know about two cellos. It's like because
That is so strange, isn't it?
I know it is, because it's like
How do you know that they don't know about each other? Like, how did you find that out?
I find it out because it's just the doesn't cross, because the two cellos audience wants more like rock, something more, like Thunderstruck or something crazy, and my audience loves these romantic ballads and classical and whatever. It's crazy, and now I have to make sure that I keep the both audiences. So, but I'm very diverse, so I don't think it's a problem. I can do all kinds of music. This is my great thing, because I love all kinds of music. I don't really have any. I don't even like to divide music to the categories. I just play, and everything sounds great on the cello.
When you started putting up these Hauser videos, were you just doing it for the love of it, or were you thinking in the back of your mind, I'm going to go viral here?
No, I was just doing it for the love of it at first. And then when I saw this reaction, I was like really surprised, because I didn't expect that playing classical slow songs can be like have such this viral effect. I just didn't see that coming, because usually it's always something that is fast, that is loud, that is but time is changing. When we started as two cellos, it was really attractive to see two cellos rocking out Thunderstruck, and then a few years later they wanted to see something different, something slow, something tender, and and then later on I realized that's what they want, so I gave them more of it, because that's what I want as well. I love those beautiful slow melodies. It's my main passion.
And when you're touring and playing gigs by yourself, do you find that harder than playing together?
Actually, I never really toured as Hauser yet. I just announced my tour. This will be my first solo tour.
So have you but for example, didn't you just play at like the Venice Film Festival?
Yeah, it's just one song. Or I played Royal Albert Hall a few days ago.
Oh, right. So it was so they weren't like lengthy things.
That's what's crazy about like Hauser as a brand, as a musician, never had my own tour. All I had was like 2 concerts that I filmed, posted on YouTube, and they're like those really viral concerts that everyone watches. And I never really had my own tour. And I announced the tour a few years ago, but then pandemic started, so I had to cancel it. And it was sold out, completely. Tickets were selling so fast. And
wow.
And now I announced finally the basically first solo tour. So I'm really excited, and let's see how it's gonna go.
I'm sure it will go very well. So essentially, it's more like are you nervous rather than have you had any differences?
I'm not nervous. I'm just excited, because I love to be on stage. I feel really relaxed on stage, and that's where I feel most comfortable. So I never really get nervous before the show.
And when you're maintaining this kind of like exhausting schedule, especially given the fact that you're playing like some classical music, you're playing all these different genres, do you have to wake up and practice like 5 hours every morning?
Actually, depends. Depends what I do. I mean, two cellos shows are already like a routine. You don't really, you know the show. You have developed it with each show. But when I have something like, for example, a few days ago, I played in Royal Albert Hall, few classical pieces. So this was I was a little bit, I felt responsible, so I had to practice. You know, I was, because on two cellos concert we use electric cellos, and this I had to get used to a wooden acoustic cello, which I landed here in London. And so you sometimes you have to get used to it and practice. So I came back to the scales and all this, you know, basics.
My God. And so with that level, because like a lot of people in show business or pop music, you know, say like, I never practice, I just play on stage, like especially because, you know, you've got to do stuff like this, you've got to do podcasts, you've got to do social media. I
There is
can't
no
even
time to
imagine
practice.
your schedule.
I mean, we practiced like crazy when we were students, when we were kids, and this is actually what it stays with you, these basics, you know. And then later on, you actually don't practice, but you develop it through performing a lot. By performing a lot, you improve and you progress your show. So this becomes your practice from show to show. You try to improve your show each night.
I mean, do you have to like manage your time in some kind of special way with all of these commitments that you've got going on? And do you ever find any time to relax?
Yeah, the good thing about my life is that I take everything as a holiday, you know, because making music doesn't even feel like a job. It's just like spreading love, enjoying. Yeah, and I'm not someone who like really plans things ahead. I was always very spontaneous guy, and I like to just go with the flow, you know. And also, even when I go to holidays, I always end up doing something and playing. And I went to Maldives for like a month, actually for 2 months, and I did like 50 videos there. So it wasn't really a holiday. I don't have peace. I have to create. I have to do something, you know.
So you went with the intent. Did you go with the intention of going to the beach for 2 months?
Actually, I went with intention. I went without cello. Can you believe? I went to the holiday without the cello, and I came there. Next day, they had to send me a cello with, you know, it had to arrive.
You're so bored.
No, I just couldn't. Like, I cannot live without music or creating it, you know.
Well, that's a wonderful thing, you know. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, if you're doing what you love, like it's a wonderful thing to do. And so you've got an album out entitled The Player, and it came out on September the 16th. How are you enjoying the reaction to that? And you know, presumably you decided to make it just because you were getting such a great reaction to all the content you're putting out.
Yes, I mean, my first album was classic because and it was great. It was like completely crushing it. It was #1 classical album all over, and all these beautiful melodies. And now I wanted to show another side of me, you know, something more, you know, like Latin, because I love Latin music and all those songs, legendary songs like Sway. Who doesn't like Sway? Or like, who doesn't like Quizás or Cuando, or all these legendary songs, Isla Bonita. And, you know, these are those songs that make you want to dance, make you want to party. And I had these amazing musicians who were like from New York, the brass section, rhythm section, the Prague, the symphony orchestra from Prague. So it's like so many people involved, even the choir from Lion King, who was featured on the Waka Waka. And it was like, I wanted to just put together something that you would think doesn't even go together, but it actually does. It's like one huge celebration of music. And I wanted to let the world know that cello can be also a party instrument, create this amazing atmosphere, you know, not just for these slow and romantic songs, but also for these exciting songs as well.
Yeah, it was a real kind of pivot, and it does work. But like, was the reason why you decided to go in this new direction deliberately, just to sort of say, you know, I'm not only even one-dimensional in my project as Hauser?
Actually, one of the reasons why I did this album now is because before my first tour kicks off, because I cannot make my show, because two cello show was so exciting. It was so like rock and roll. It was like fire, the drummer, everyone is going crazy. Everyone is like, wow. And I cannot now go from that to like just play slow songs all night. I have to make a show, because I'm a showman. I have to do something exciting that's gonna make people get up and dance. So I was thinking, what could be great direction for me, so I can still maintain this exciting show. And I thought Latin music is great choice, because everyone loves Latin music, not just Latin market, but Latin music is listened in all markets. And there are such iconic songs and with great melodies and this exciting orchestration, and it could work really well. And this was one of the reasons why I decided to do it now. And I'm now young.
That's
And I'm
really
young.
clever thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing to do, especially because obviously, as you say, like even if your video's playing slower songs and beautiful songs, they're doing well online. But like when people go out to a concert, if you play too many ballads in a row, people start to, they want something.
There is two realities. So streaming is one thing, and live it's another thing. So everything that streams well, and everyone is listening and downloading like crazy, doesn't work live. Live is just boring. You're just gonna fall asleep. And on live, what everyone gets the best reaction, it doesn't really stream. No one listens to that in a car or something. So it's like two worlds, and you have to satisfy both worlds. I'm still gonna include the slow songs, of course. I'm still gonna have this classical section, romantic section, the Latin section. So it's gonna be a complete journey.
Yeah, and it's really cool that this, the keeping the life of your gigs and your solo gigs, but doing something different to playing rock and roll. How important is rock and roll to you? Because I've read, that like you're a big fan of like Elvis and American rock and roll.
I love Elvis because he was so like charismatic, and he actually made a revolution at the time. It was like before Elvis there was nothing, and he came and just changed everything. And so that's because I in a way did the same for the cello. People didn't really know much about that instrument before we as two cellos did something crazy and different and exciting. So, and rock and roll always had this rebellious something about it that we had as well. So I love it.